What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a wide receiver football IQ quiz to test your knowledge of the position. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and would like a daily workout schedule that you can do for route running, press releases, catching, check out that very first link in the description below where you could get access to our 8-week wide receiver on-field workout plan. What you'll get access to is 200+ wide receiver drills, exact sets and reps mapped out. Monday you should do this, Tuesday this, etc., made into a schedule, and we give you video examples of each drill. So check out that very first link in the description below for our 8-week wide receiver on-field plan. Let's get back to this video. So if you're not familiar with our quiz-style videos, how they go is I'm going to show a pre-snap look with the DB and a wide receiver. I'm going to ask you a series of questions about that pre-snap look, how you'd run certain routes against it, give you a chance to pause the video and think about your answer, and then we'll break this thing down as to why it was right or wrong. So first one we got here is how would you guys run versus this specific coverage a 6-yard hitch route? So you got a 6-yard hitch route. So how would you run this? Think about the leverage, think about the DB's coverage, and then we'll break this thing down. So you guys go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So we got to understand every single time we come into the line of scrimmage as a wide receiver, we need to have a plan of action. I call it a pre-snap plan or a pre-snap process, right? So again, that's why we do these videos, to help you guys come up with that pre-snap process and know how to run certain routes versus certain coverages. So we come up to the line, the two things they're looking for in my plan, or to help me pick my plan, is this DB's leverage and this DB's distance from us, right? So this DB's lined up inside shade. We are off the ball, obviously, but he's inside shade, maybe about 2 to 3 yards away from me, I would say. And my route is at 6 yards. So what we would need to do, if you said you were going to attack his outside shoulder and outside hip, trying to flip him to the fade, then put the brakes on, that would be correct. Anytime, again, now if this guy was like, let's say we were on the ball and he was pressed up right in front of my face, I'd have to give him some kind of release and then go. But on a hitch route, it's a quick developing route, right? So we don't have time to waste with some kind of release where we close the distance and then go against this type of coverage. But if he's right up in my face, right up on the line of scrimmage, then yeah, I got to give him something, because if I just take off and run, he's going to get hands and make life very challenging for me to get out of this break. So let's play this thing full speed, then we'll break it down a little bit more. So you see how DJ Moore pushes vertical, puts his head down, puts the brakes on. Now, could this be called a push-off? I mean, I think it was subtle enough. I think it was almost like he was using his momentum against him, and that's why it looked like a push. But this extension right here, you guys just have to be careful with this, because this, I've seen this be called before. This was not called. This was not a flag, but I've seen that called before. So you have to be careful with the extension and with the push. It is always best course of action to try to keep your elbows as tight as you can to your rib cage and use this guy's momentum. It's a light shove. It's a light push off. It is not a full-blown extend and push off. So could this have been called? Probably, but it wasn't, because within 5 yards. So I want to say that's like, you know, fair game, if you will, for a wide receiver. But it's the same concept, right? We're pushing vertical and we have to sell at his outside shoulder. Like when I say attack his outside shoulder, I mean like you got to run like this. This is exactly how you attack and exactly how you sell vertical. You see how his head's down? Not saying your head always has to be down, but that can help you, especially on short routes. Hips committed, shoulders committed. You see how long his strides are. You see how hard he is running. This is what it takes to get separation. This is what it takes to get this DB to open up his hips on a route like a hitch, or maybe you're running a slant route and you have to do a diamond release. This is how you sell vertical. So let's play this thing full speed one more time. Great job by Moore pushing up and then putting the brakes on to win. All right, so now next example we're going to be going over, fellas. So this example here, how would you guys run a 10 to 12 yard dig? So how would you run a 10 to 12 yard dig versus this specific coverage? So how would you run 10 to 12 yard dig versus this coverage? You guys can go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So remember, we need to have a pre-snap plan, and that is my plan of action on this route. So I come up to the line of scrimmage. I see that this DB's lined up inside shade, right? So the reason why we want to look for his leverage is that tells me what he is trying to take away and what he is going to allow with his type of coverage, right? So if he's inside shade, his job is to take away the inside route. No slants, no digs, no posts, no deep posts, no curls. His job is to prevent all that. Force us to the sideline, so maybe we will run away from him to the sideline, which is essentially his help. Now, again, second thing we want to look for is the distance. Is he right up on the line? Is he 2 yards away? Is he 5 yards away? Is he 8 yards away? What type of coverage is it based on that knowledge? So we see that he's about 2 yards away inside shade. So we know that he's not going to give us the inside release. On a dig, yeah, we'd love to take an inside release. That's easy money if I had this DB on my outside hip and I could just break. But sometimes he's not going to let me do that. So what I would want to do is I would want to attack him inside, close the distance for 2 yards, make him move. Reason why we want to fake to the inside is because he's going to honor it. He's going to keep that leverage, which gives us a more free release to the outside. And when we go outside, we want to make sure that we get skinny, which essentially means you want to run as tight as you can to that DB so we can stack over the top of him and then go. Now, I'll talk about what happens if you can't stack in a second, but let's play this full speed. So he attacks him, closes the space. You see what I mean. Easy money, and we give the quarterback room to throw us open. We don't want to force the inside release, not just because this DB will get hands. This DB is going to get hands on us in a lot of situations, even if I take the outside release. We want to keep spacing. In a real game scenario, look where he's lined up. He is on the hash, right? What do you have over here? You got linemen. What do you have on the opposite side of the field? Other receivers running other routes. So let's say I got a receiver running like a drag route. And let's say you force an inside release and this DB get hands and he keeps forcing you inside and you break. You're running right into the drag. There's one defender that could guard 2 routes, and that's horrible spacing on the play. So you have to run the route like how it's drawn up on paper. On paper, it's drawn up where you are going straight and cutting over the middle. That is what you want to try to stay as clear to as possible. So that's why we take that outside release. We attack him inside, make him think I'm going there so he can move, and then we want to try to run as tight as we can to him so I could get over the top and stack. So now I could get space, but I also give my quarterback room. I also set up the read. I'm not getting forced way to the inside. So that's a great job there by this receiver. Now, some of you are thinking, well, what if this DB's fast? What if I can't stack him? What if I take the outside release, but he runs right with me the entire time? At the break point, think about that hitch route. What could you do? You could take this inside arm, you could put it on the back of this DB's hip, back of his shoulder, and slip under him. But again, you gave the quarterback space. A quarterback on a dig route is not throwing it like as soon as you break, right? So he could deal with a break that is maybe a half a second, not even a half a second, like a split second slower than like a single cut dig or a rocker step dig where you like stack him, because you gave him space. You gave him separation. You gave him room to throw you open. You gave him a throwing lane, essentially. So this is perfect. That's exactly how you'd run that dig route versus that inside shade press look. Okay, so now, how would you guys run a quick post route versus this specific coverage? And also kind of a two-part question. Is this off man or is this zone coverage? So how would you guys run a quick post versus this coverage, like about 8 to 10 yards? And is it off man or is it zone? So you guys go ahead and pause the video and think about your answers. So pause the video. All right, let's break this thing down. So we have this outside leverage DB, right? So his eyes are a little bit to the inside. He's kind of looking at us, I would say, in this example, but his stance is switched to the inside, and he's definitely outside leverage, right? So that tells me, because of his stance, that it could be zone, right? It could be zone. And when it's zone and you see this DB start to like kind of like bail out like this, he's got something called a blind spot. Again, this could be off man. I would say that may not be the best question, but I would say that it's zone just based on his stance, okay? But it could be off man. Usually in off man, what you'll see is you'll see a guy who's a little bit more squared up and facing the wide receiver. You won't see him tilted to the inside, but he does have safety help. So when it comes down to running a post versus this look, how do you think you would do it? Number one, you'd want to try to attack his leverage and attack his blind spot. Because remember, when he's outside leverage, this is why we have to identify the leverage. Because it not only tells us about the DB that we're going up against, it tells us about the coverage as a whole, right? So he's outside shade. What does that mean that he has to the inside? He has help, because he's trying to take away the outside route and force us inside. Why in the world would he force us inside if he doesn't have guys over there? Because that's an easy play for the wide receiver. Why not just go run a dig every single time? There's nobody over there. That's why in one-on-ones, you see wide receivers all the time. Line up out of the slot. DBs will play outside shade, and then they just run like a slant because there's nobody over there. But in a real game, there's going to be somebody over there, right? So we have to attack him. We have to try to get to this area called the blind spot, a.k.a. his leverage. So let's watch what this receiver does. So he attacks him. And when you attack him, you see how he keeps that leverage, guys. So when he breaks to the inside, that's a bigger throwing window for the quarterback. Because if you just take off and go run, you're going right into a safety, and a DB will be right on your hip. That's an impossible window for the QB. That's almost double coverage. So we have to attack him outside. Let's Let's move him. Let's get him off that platform so we can get some separation. Quarterback, and there's the safety help. Quarterback threw this one behind and a little bit late, I would say. You put that ball right there. I think that's an easy touchdown because that is a great route. Just again, sometimes that happens. I know you guys all know what I mean. So let's play this thing again full speed. That's how you run that post versus that outside shade off man coverage. Make him think that you're running to the outside so he keeps that leverage. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like to get an 8-week wide receiver on-field workout schedule, over 200+ wide receiver drills and workouts that you could do on the field, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.